Alright, let's get the show on the road. I'm going to do my best to come up with an opening rep. Based, at least loosely, around what I've been studying already. So one thing though is I'm probably going to ditch, whoops, playing the timing off. I just don't think it's competitive enough. Jesus, my stomach. It's either H6 or... Gosh. Maybe RC8? I don't think so, though. Oh my god. Now I'm just kind of annoyed with my stomach. I honestly don't know this one. Oh. That was a lie, I do. He drops the knight back. When he drops the knight back, I want to say RB8. Oh, yeah. Okay, so it's going to go knight, then I push F4, then I move my knight here. Then the queen will get moved up. Then I'll... Okay. Then the knight will come here, and then I'll move a knight. Okay. There we go. Why are you licking him? My dog just licks my other dog. I'm not even sure I'm going to play the Italian game. I don't know. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started with this opening rep. Why? Let's see. I want to resize this. Yeah, that's good enough. You gotta stop, buddy. You gotta stop. I'm not gonna record right now, at least. Okay, so this is for white. I feel like even though I have it set to interactive mode, so other people may use it if they wish, I'm just going to stick to not even commenting right now. I think I'm going to use a combo of both the opening explorer using masters are going to have a very much greater experience of the game. I only play classical, so I think what I'm going to do is just take the samples of Lichess from here to figure out my moves. Maybe add in 2K. And probably add in rapid, just in case. Okay, so for me, I'm fairly familiar with the Smith Mora, fairly. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Well, I could even try and see. I want this to be far bigger. Yeah, I think I'm just going to do that. So I think, oh my god, this is hard. Okay, so if I cross-reference everything, I'll turn that off. I'll cross-reference everything, I guess. So, masters are much better, obviously, going into open Sicilians, but there's also a heavy draw because their opponents are better. So, that makes sense. Now I'll drop this. Also looks like, theory-wise, okay, for my current rating, that, what if I do the extremes? That may provide with a better baseline. Nah, let's not do the extremes. Okay. Yeah, we'll just do this. I don't like close Sicilians, so NF3 will be the candidate move I see, and that will be what line if I see this, it's going to be what I play. Okay, so a master typically will respond with the obvious, which is bruh. The starting to B50, that can start into, I want to say, I mean, there's obviously tons of things, but this is more so for me. I just want to get the types of moves that I may see the most. Actually, I wasn't even using masters right there, I don't think. Yeah. I may just use this book since it's only 22. I mean, it goes from, yeah, it's a good book. Okay. D6 is most commonly played, followed by in C6, then E6, then G6, then A6, then in F6, then we got B6 and Queen C7. I'm sure there's more, but I don't even think I need to put Queen C7 on there, because with Queen C7, just develop naturally, makes sense. Okay. Plus, I just don't see. Yeah, I just don't see. Hey, cut it out. In F6 is Nimzovich, and I hate the Nimzovich, so I'm definitely going to keep that one there. I have never seen the Katalamov. Let's see what it would play out like. It's just pretty standard system moves for white. So, okay, I don't need to study that. What does the Nimzovich go into? Kind of like this odd. We'll use the engine here, and E5 is certainly the best. This is kind of like a, almost like an Alekine. It just kind of looks like an Alekine. Followed by what, though? So computers like NE4, NXD5, what is that followed by? EXD5. It would be an odd game, but I feel like opening principles would cover it. The O'Kelly, I don't think I've ever seen. We've got NC3 suggested by the engine. What would I want to do here? I certainly would not think C3 first, so I don't think it's a good idea for me to do that. In fact, my first instinct would be D4, which EX to D4, NX D4. I wonder if the next move would just be, I wonder what it would be actually. This is just called the normal system. And looks like yeah, that should transpose. Okay, it did. But E5 is what's played, and this must be why. It's a little bit different. It is. I've never seen that, but I don't really know how to study things without really knowing. Okay, so D4 makes sense. And it's what I'd play. I do like open Sicilians. This is a hyper accelerated dragon. And I want to say if NC6 is played, it goes accelerated. Yeah, okay. And if they stick to the hyper accelerated, I think a Maroczy is my best bet. Although I'm not too familiar with that pawn structure. Yeah. Not too familiar with it. What is the other option? If NC6 gets played, then I can just go into a system that I'd be comfortable with. So that's probably what I would do there. Okay, so with G6, this is where things start to get annoying almost. If G6, then D4. If CX D4, then NX D4. If BG7, I would not play C4. I would play NC3. And from there, pretty much everything is the same. Just go into a system. Okay? So that would be an acceptable way to go about this, I think. The French variation, I'm familiar with the time and off, and regardless of what people say, it's the time on off, whatever, I don't care what you call it. I would certainly play D4. I have seen some very, very odd move orders down at my rating levels. That being one of them. A6 also being one. But still. Doesn't look like I need to worry that much. That's almost always, I mean, I would absolutely play that. I'm most familiar with NC6 being played. Sure enough, NC6 or an F6 are what the computer's like. But A6 is the most played by masters. What is the most played here on Lichess? A6, in F6, in C6. Okay. And black has a very good win ratio. What's the most played at my level? In C6. But it's worth looking into. I would say A6, and F6, and C6. Okay, we'll start with A6. We're in the Kael variation. I'm very much sort of familiar with it. Well, not very much, sort of. That doesn't make really any sense. But if I remember correctly, the whole point of the Kael and the Taimanov, the Najdorf, is all to prevent any sort of weird ideas like that. I would absolutely progress with NC3. Is it what I should? No. According to the engines, that is not what I should. Let's see what masters play, though. They also play BD3. So they go with engines. Bastards. BD3, then. I'll have to look into that. So if A6, BD3, most commonly played after that is Queen C7. I think that if it were just me and I was met with this, I know NC3 is not a terrible move by any means. I wouldn't play BD3, that just looks odd to me. So I would stick with ND3, or NC3, excuse me. Let's see here. What's most commonly played? Masters play Queen C7. What do we see here on Lichess, though? Queen C7 as well. So Queen C7 or B5, most commonly. So if A6 and C3, we'll look at Queen C7 first. Yeah, that sounds right. Queen C7 being here. Let's show the threats. So the threats are doubling pressure on the knight, pinning the knight to the king, b5 push, which is always a good idea, I think, in a Sicilian open. You want to get that b5 in to get counter pressure. Those would be the threats. And the thing is that I don't really understand by the bd3 move is, no, I do now, because if the goal is to remove this defender, I think I can actually notate that better. If the goal is to attack and pin the knight to the king, which means that this defender is removed, then something like d5 can get played. So bd3 does start to make more sense. What would I play here, though? I honestly would play be3. That's just the system I know of the most. But it's a losing one. Okay. Yeah, let's go ahead and I'm gonna have to learn it. Okay, so what's the response to b5 though? bd3? Okay. And then, most common response to that, we got bb7. So we've got a feigned Keto into a castle. Okay. Are the ideas similar? Queen c7 followed by bd3. What am I looking at? Okay, good. We'll cut it down. This is not a very popular opening. But nf6 is a possibility. That's also led up to a castle. And then you've got d6, you've got bc5. Wait. Yeah, bc5. You've got b5. You've got bd6. All pointing towards that way. I feel like I could handle it from there though. Just natural things. So basically, if anything, if a6, nc3, and then play whatever they want, respond to it with, looks like bd3, maybe be3, if, I'd probably still stick with bd3 for, no, because, okay, that seems good. Keep it very simple. So if a6, I'm going to go candidate nc3. And then pretty much if two good moves are made, pretty much the only two good moves, I guess, then it doesn't matter. I'm going to play bd3. Okay, fair enough. Looks good enough to me. So now I'm going to go ahead and, what the, oh, that hurts. Okay, so I'm going to learn from this. I forgot already. If G6, then D4, CX D4, NX D4, BG7, then I don't really like the Maroc C, so I wouldn't play it. And then I'd go into a system. Okay, so that's the first thing. That shouldn't be priority 1, though, I don't feel like. I can always promote later. Okay. So the candidate move for C5 is NF3. Then we've got E6, which is the French. I'd go D4 again, CX D4, NX D4. This is where we were. A6, the con. I'd go ahead and play NC3. Then you've got either Queen C7 or B5. If Queen C7, BD3. If B5, BD3. So now I've got that variation done. Now we've got NC6. This is kind of like it's called the Old Sicilian. I think it's the anti-Queen X D4 is what the point is. Now the Rossolimo is something I've been interested in, but I would not play. So, we'll go ahead and go with an F6, E5, G6, trying to find any patterns between all of them. I would not play NXC6, I'd play NC3. E5 being played. Not very familiar with that. Seems like, okay. NDB5. That's not a bad move. I just can't remember why. E6 is... Okay. So now we've got D6. And that's because I want to say this is a move that can... Yeah, of course. If you don't play D6, well, now you've got a knight right in affecting these dark squares. To which, what would be the correct response in my opinion? I don't think any of these would be what I'd play. But, that all being said, it does look like BG5 would be good. Followed by A6, kicking the knight back. Okay. I'll stop here, trying to see if there's any consistencies. So, if E5 and B5, which should be, if I remember correctly, yeah, okay. Again, I'm pretty sure it has something to do with forcing the concession of weakening some dark squares or light squares. It's one of those two. Of course, it's one of those two though. D6. And yeah, I would follow in with NC3. And it looks like at that point, though, the only true difference B5 is pretty much always a standard thing. So how would I deal with it is the question. And D5 is a good move. This looks more threatening. And it's absolutely something to consider. We've got C3, BG5. BG5 is not. BG5 is a good move. I'm just going to start using the Masters database. BE7. This is the Sveshnikov. I'm familiar with that. Okay. So if NXD4 NF6 looks like NC3, then that's interesting. I don't have that one marked. So I think what I'll do is go ahead and change this up a little bit. If NF6 followed by, oh no wait, if NXD4 NF6, okay, let's get rid of you then. If NXD4 NF6, I'll play NC3. That'll be a candidate. And we've got E5, D6. Those are really the only ones I think need to be covered. We got E5, NDB5, D6, BG5, A6, and A3. Looks all like standard play. Take. I don't like that really. Does have its merits though. And I am a pretty aggressive player. Because I feel like they'd take with the queen. But giving them doubled up pawns only to carry out the F5 break. At least that's what I would see them doing. Yep. Okay. I'm pretty sure that I have a good enough grasp, if only. NXD4, if then NF6, then NC3, and then if D6, BG5. That's good enough for me for right now, because I do want to get some games in. If NXD4 followed by G6, I don't necessarily like the Maroxy. So BG7 would follow. BE3, I'm familiar with that system. No need to even go down with that path. Okay. So far, we've got a system opening. I don't think I need any of this really. May come back and bite me in the ass. NF6, then F4, G6, okay. F4, E5, or E6, or Queen C7, or Queen B6. Okay, let's see what the candidate would be for me. I already got one set up for I think these are going to be very, very similar in every single case. If E5 and B5, just standard moves. Okay. That's something I can remember. NC3. Then we got Queen C7. Then we've got BE3. I'm familiar with that system. Okay, then we got NC3. Then we got E6. Then we got a system. Okay, cool. Then we've got Queen B6. Interesting. And B3. And F6. NC3. E6. BD3. A6. Castle. BE7. BE3. Okay. I'm loosely familiar with this structure, so again, that's all fine and good. That's good. If Queen C7. Okay, now we can go back. We can hit up. Actually, we have to go back to NF3. Now we've got, I want to do inline notation now. We got NF3, G6, E6, and C6. Okay, so NF3, this is the main one and why it will be promoted. It should also probably just be made the main line, honestly. But I digress. D6 would be followed by D4, CX D4. And we got NX D4. Now, I would expect an F6, to which I would respond in C3. And now we got the Knight Orf, which I'm expecting. But then we've also got NC6 and also G6. And I'll go ahead and put it in for good measure. E6. So we'll start with the least popular, which is E6. If E6, G4, interesting, but makes sense. Or I could go into sort of a system, which I'm familiar with. So that would be my response. Play BE3 with GE6, or with G6, BE3. Perfect. With NC6, and this is the one that I'm familiar with to an extent, because this can lead to the poison pawn, I think. So we've got PG5. Followed by E6. Then we can play Queen D2. Yes, I would, because I'm looking to castle long. Okay, so Queen D2. A6 can be played. B7 can be played. I believe I'd see A6 the most. Long castle would be my response. BD7, F4, all familiar to me. B5, BX F6, GX F6. Okay. So all of this would be stuff I would understand. So yeah. I believe A6 would be the most popular, though. No, obviously that wouldn't lead the poison pawn because it wouldn't be the Knight Orf. But that all being said, with A6, again, I feel like I would play BG5, to be honest. But with all of these systems that are revolving around BE3, it just makes more sense to add that as the candidate move. We got e5. That's most commonly played at that point. No game. Oh, whoops. Sorry, guys. E5. And then we've got, I believe I know where this is going as well. Because, yes, it's the English attack every time I put in BE3. I do know this line, I believe. F3 is most commonly played. Although I personally think that just based on this, Queen D2 is more fun. MBD7. So long castle makes sense to me. Got BE7, F4, B5, F. All of these things are pretty familiar to me. And this would be, yeah, I think this would be the main line. Well, yeah. Okay. We'll go back and do some I think this is safe enough for me to feel, yeah. This is a pretty standard you can take it out of inline. So that means that NC6 is the only one that really has multiple variations, and I probably went too deep on it because BE3 is almost certainty. Regardless, this is a pretty good mock-up of what I would play as white against the Sicilian. Okay, King's Knight. We'll move on. Go to normal analysis. King's Knight. What do I think would, I mean, obviously amongst, this is the problem. Amongst masters, I'm pretty sure I know what they would play. They would go into a Royal Pesha. And it seems that my peers would do the same. Here's the thing, though. I don't think I'd play the Italian game. I think it's interesting. I really do. But I just don't see myself playing it. Roy Lopez has much more theory, but theory is something that I got time to learn. So I probably would play. Most common, A6. The drop back. I'm already familiar with what I'm seeing. This should be at least the, what is it? It's not the Steinitz. Maybe it is. Eventually. Yeah. The Morphy. We got BE7. Moving into the closed variations. Except that in the closed variations, I do not play rook to E1. I play d3. b5, bb3, d6. And then even in a main line, I've been looking at a3 because it seems more interesting. Gaining in popularity amongst masters from what I've been told. I could be incorrect, but yeah. NC3, and the goal being to try and get the knight to d5. That, or if actually, yeah, it's not to get the d5 in this, get to d5 in this variation. It's to, if bb7, sack off the dark squared maybe, and try and put the bishop to trap down, dear lord, 2 minor pieces. So then we have bg4, which is common because it undermines the thought process. So, no, the thought is still nd4. Or nd5, excuse me. nd4. Then bx d4, yep. Ex d4. Now we can move our knight into d5, which is good. That's good. That should be an advantage. Small, but still there. Those would be all candidate moves for me right there. So we got nc6, bb5. Okay. What if they don't go a6? I've never really honestly dealt with too many more. But the Berlin is extremely popular, I think, at least at my level. It's a lot more popular than Grandmasters, at least. Wait. Yeah. Regardless, the Berlin always kills me, and I have no idea why. Not a common move. The Berlin, basically, if I remember correctly, you can just dissolve this into a very quick endgame scenario. You take here, you play d3. The most common way is you play castle, and the reason you play castle is because you're leaving it up to black at that point, whether he wants to make it open variation of the Ruy Lopez, or if he wants to continue with something that is probably bound to transpose. I like d3 the best, so I would play d3. That would be my move. bc5. Yeah, I remember learning this variation. bc5 being played. This is where I think you can start to dissolve it. But you got dx c6 and bx c6. bx c6 does seem to be cool, but if I remember from the Chessable study, you don't play it because you want to free up your queen to sort of x-ray this queen, and the whole point becomes fairly apparent. MBD2, we could castle, but MBD2 makes it to where if the bishop gets put on e6, we can then move our knight I want to say if b6, knight going to b3, yeah, knight goes to b3, and then if they don't watch out and they try to protect the bishop with the knight move, they'll actually trap their own light squared bishop, which I believe gives an advantage. I'm not sure. bx b3, ax b3. Looks like it's just a dead game regardless. I do know it's what I've learned on Chessable. That's about all I need to know. Let's see here. This all assuming. Okay. So where does the candidate move start? Here. It's d3. It's the candidate move. So d6 I think leads to this. No, it's still the Berlin. So c3 is likely. I'm not sure actually, but yeah, give an escape square. Let's see, what would g6? We got g6, bd7, be7. G6 seems to be the best move. At that point, I think I'd play nbd2. bg7 gets played. And yeah, the point being, wrap around. Pretty actually standard knight maneuver. And play ng3. Then you get a6. Then you get ba4. You get b5. You get the drop back. You get probably d5. Try and instigate. bb7 is also an interesting one. Black's best option is bb7, it looks like. Not using computers. That's when the castle comes in. Okay. There's a lot to take in here. So I'm going to try and really, really simplify this. Like, very, very much. Delete from here. Okay. Delete from here. I'm only going to look at so many. So if bb5, we got a6, and then we've got nf6. These are the only ones I've really seen, and therefore the only ones I really care about. We'll start with the Berlin again. I want to say I would play d3, so I'm going to stick with that I would. And we've got bc5 and d6. So we'll start with the least popular. I'm not sure if I actually would play c3. c3 does seem safe. But castle does look more interesting. So then we've got bd7, be7, and g6. Whoops. Delete from there. Okay. So that is, yes, absolutely when I'd play c3. Looks like things are starting to pan out into same sorts of thoughts. G6 would be followed by, I would not play D4 without prepping with C3. So we got BG7, followed by, let's see here, what would I play? I don't feel like I would play our rook to E1. Maybe I would just play rook to E1. Castle is the most common here. So then, yeah, this seems like a solid position. I'm aware of what I can do here. Okay, so that's done. C3, followed up by castle. Again, looks like it's all similar stuff at this point. To E1, A6 would be an interesting one. Back the bishop up, let him play B5, back the bishop to C2. Best bet looks like rook to E8. D5 played the most though. EX D5 would lead to NX D5. But if I play knight to D2, then we may see DX E4, DX E4. Opening up this lane a little bit, but I feel comfortable in the position. Let's see, C3 here. C3 after BD7. You'll see G6. You'll see, again, rook to E1. These are all pretty standard, it looks like. In fact, yeah, this all looks exactly the same. Yeah, these are all transpositions. These two variations, starting with 5G6, 5BD7, those are transposed. Okay. So that's enough, I think, for the Berlin. So let's go with the most natural or most seen move, which would be BC5. This is the tough one. I'm most familiar with 4 BC5, BXC6. But I'd play C3. I still feel like it's the best. Followed by a castle. Followed by a castle. Then you see D6. And then again, we've got a very, very similar sort of setup here. At this point, though, it's important what do you gain from BXC6? Doubled up pawns. That seems worth it to me. It also gives him a stronger center, though. What do I follow that up with? Rook to E1. Okay. I think that I would take at that point, at the very minimum. Okay, so that's That's it for the Roy. And then, of course, like I said, you go. This is the problem with trying to make opening repertoires. We start from the Roy Lopez. That's also assuming he plays in C6. So now we got to go back. Or, better yet, I think I'll just rename this Roy Lopez. And then I can move on, add a new chapter, maybe, whoops. And this will be the Petrov. That's one way to spell it, but maybe that's better. Create chapter. That's the Petrov. And it'd be E4, E5, and bam. Petrov's defense. And I am familiar with most of this. That would be a candidate move. I'll try, Queen E7 something that they can play, but if I remember correctly, you see Queen E7. What is the best move? D4. Yeah, D4. So D4 would get played. In C6. I don't think I'd play NX C6 though. Dropping the knight back makes sense. Queen X E4 check seems like something I wouldn't be familiar with. B2 to block. That's just, one variation on it. But we can move from Petrov's. And I'm pretty comfortable with what I'd play against the French in some areas, to be fair. For example, D5, I would move into the exchange variation, even though apparently that score is very, very low. I would move into it because of its simplicity. EXD5, then with the French, I believe it's, NF3, and that's usually followed by NF6, and then BT3 followed by I haven't actually seen BT6, but it does make sense. Get a castle out, could play H3. BG5 is also a move. I think I'd play H3. Okay. Regardless, that's probably a line I'd use in the French against the Caro-Kann. Again, I would play the exchange, which is followed by BD3, then knight C6, then C3, then knight F6, then BF4. Then you got BG4 can be played, which should be the most common, BG4, and then in F3. Then E6, then MBD2, and then you got BD6, and then I take, and the take, and then the castle, and then I put my rook out. That would be the line I'd use if everything went according to plan. Okay, and then for now, I think my white repertoire is good enough for now. Yeah, for now, I think it's fine. Then I can expand upon my opening rep for black, which is basically all the same. I would meet e4 with c5, and this is where things, especially at my rating, go to hell and back pretty much. But I do know some of the things that I would play. For example, against the English opening, e5, then you get nc3, and then I would be going for a reversed closed Sicilian. Ironically, of course, g6, bg2, bg7, is it d3? Yeah, it's d3. And then d6, yeah, d6, followed by rook to b1. No, I don't think. e4 does sound like it would be ng e7 though. I'm not sure. f5 maybe. If f5, then you get ng e2, then you get an f6. Here's where I'm usually going to see one of two things, and if it's in d5, I immediately push. We'll start with castles though. Now in d5, now I push. At least that's what I would do. It's what I am the most used to, and then I'd play out in h5, to which fxe5 would be the response. dxe5, then you get a lot of different things can happen here. I suspect though that either be3 would be following or bd2 would follow. Looking to start playing. Hey, hush. But if f4 gets played, for example, then we can move bg4, then you got bf3, then you got bxf3, rxf3. Not sure that I would play nxf4 though, but nxf4, nexf4, exf4, bxf4, in d4, pressuring the rook, rook f1, dropping back, c6, kicking the knight, in c3, dropping back, in e6, pressuring the bishop, e3, rxf1 check, queen xf1, b d4. Okay, yeah, I'm familiar with this. In the Indian game, is so good because usually you'll immediately see someone trying to, at my rating especially, play the London. I hate the London. E3, followed by, yeah, bg7, then and f3. Then this is an important move. You do not castle first. You play d6 to prevent the knight coming in. h3 or be2, it really wouldn't matter in my opinion. I'd play that and castle out. Now you'd see BE2. C5, yeah, that would follow. But C3 would be the most common. I don't think I'd play B6 though. I don't think I'd play Queen B6 either. What I would play would be B6. That doesn't sound like me. It's in one of my lessons, what to do here. Castle comes out. Makes sense. CXD4, EXD4. And yeah, this is what I'm looking for in D5. I don't think BH2, excuse me. Then E5 comes in. You don't usually see the knight move. DXE5 is played DXE5. In BD2. Oh, excuse me, in BD2. In BD2's makes sense. Oh, whoops. Excuse me. In BD2. Then I want to say the pawn advance. No, I would play in F4, BXF4, EXF4, RE1, and then Queen C7. That's what I would do. Into Sicilian, because everybody loves to play goddamn anti-Sicilians. I'm going to look at things that would make me happy. Knight or which would be followed by BE3, almost certainly. And yes, then the English attack E5. Then I do want to say MB3 gets played. Then B6 does get played. F3 or F4, it really just depends. F4 is far more aggressive. F3 does seem to be the most popular. B7 stacking up the bishops. Queen D2 because they're going to castle long. But this is one of the rare, very rare, in my opinion, variations of the Knight Orf where you get to castle. That's to initiate the counterplay. G5, B4. Then you get all types of possibilities, but it looks like I am trying. Excuse me, in E2. So dropping the knight back, flipping the attack around. 98. Yes. At least I think that's what Chessable recommends. Or not Chessable, chess.com. And I hate chess.com, but can't really argue with when they actually make sense. A4, MBD4, what? Oh, MBD4. And it just gets real. Whoops. God, I had it right the first time. MBD4. EXD4. NXD4. B3, destroying pawn structure, because that is good. BXC. Yeah, BXC2 check. And XC2. Regardless, these are so theory heavy lines that, man. As much as I want to play the Nightorf, it is very theory heavy. Like, literally, one of the most theory heavy. And that's the biggest problem, I think, for me is it's been analyzed to death. But yeah, I think let's see. Right now, only. Oh, come on. Oh, yeah, duh, it's right there. 1,500. The problem is that, I mean, at my level, yeah, for sure. But I just got into doing the chess club for where I live. And while they're deep as hell studies, the biggest thing is just, at least from my vantage point, it definitely shows you the themes. And mainly I'm just trying to find the candidate moves, which admittedly is a lot harder. I don't need to go that far to figure out a candidate move. Mainly that was more just kind of like, I want to know the Nightorf, so I just kind of went bonkers. Last 7 days. That's not good enough. That's way better. Yes. Yes. One of the ones I hate the most is literally it's either the Boldler or the Bowdler. E4 C5 2 BC4. I pretty much just go fuck it. I cannot stand that crap. But yes. Do I play good against much stronger opponents or much weaker? Oh yeah, that's right. I don't play weaker opponents. Ben Feingold. No point in doing that. You don't learn. So that's kind of interesting. Well, yeah. I play worse against people that are stronger. Not much stronger. But then, no, almost always. Well, actually, I think I can just look at the games that I've been playing here recently. I know I have not. Well, I don't know. So I won't say that. But if. Yeah. Which is why I just don't play against weaker opponents. I always set it to where I'm playing usually at least 100 points above me. But yeah, the Alapin, that was an interesting game. Stupid, but interesting. I can't remember. Ow. Oh yeah. Good game, well played. Have to make sure he knows. So D4, CX, D4, NX, D4. I suppose I was white, which is probably why. The thing is in terms of opening theory, because I found Chessable, and a lot of their free books are about openings, I'd like to consider myself pretty decent when it comes to knowing, openings. My problem, and I think it's a lot of people's problems, but it is absolutely my problem. I think, what do my chess insights say? That would be the easiest way to prove it. Opening. So in bullet, as you can see, I don't care. But at least for my level, I don't feel like that's terrible thin upon loss. And then you got endgame, which I'm surprisingly incredibly good at in classical. Not incredibly, but you get the point. Not so, but I mean it's obvious. There it is, in the middle game, and it's because I have no idea exactly, because there's very few moves that are going to cost you. I mean, it's very hard to blunder in the opening. What am I? Oh yeah, I think I'm doing. Yeah. Okay. Damn. That doesn't feel right. But no, everything you're saying obviously makes sense. But even more so, my thought process, at least, is especially since there's free books that I can use on Chessable, is the best way for me, at least. I don't think this is right. Oh, it is. Okay, cool. To, I guess, learn. Well, what are you rated? There was a... I don't think I take here, but I'm going to. Okay, cool. Well then. I'm envious. One thing though that maybe G6 here. I have been trying better at man is I feel like I mean obviously like I totally agree with what you're saying, but it's pretty much right here. Yeah, and the thing is I'm absolutely serious about it. As much as there are absolutely times where I mean, and that's the thing. I think the biggest reason why I want to get it done is because I want to at least know. Like for example, I may not always play 1e4 in the future. But for now, absolutely, that's all I'm going to play is 1e4. And if they play 1e4, I'm going to play c5. If they play 1d4, I'm going to play nf6. And that's just because I've always been playing that. I don't see any reason to change it. And of course, since I don't actually have an, like, what's the best way to put it? Any sort of, like, database of games that people can go and reference. It's not even a weakness if you really think about it. I haven't actually, been in an over-the-board tournament, for example. I don't know what my actual USCF or FIDE rating would be. So, my repertoire can be very, very simple. It would obviously have to be. Oh no, I assume it's like 800. Don't worry, I'm not assuming. The thing is, especially online, there's no, for me especially, I deal with social anxiety. Yes, especially, I mean, you factor in even just, I think everybody has a little bit of not social anxiety necessarily, but certainly you take it much more seriously over the board. And that's even with people like my brother, like you just take it more seriously. It feels more official. Yeah, exactly. And it's something that you hear anyone that I feel like is worth a grain of salt in chess, and their first thing is, no, over the board is like so much different than online that it's stupid. And it makes total sense when you really think about it. Number one, you do not physically have to touch the pieces. That's a huge thing that a lot of people don't think about. Another one is oh no, that's not what I'm saying. But like you consider that, in a over the board tournament, no one is going to stop you from making an incorrect move, and you lose if you do. So it's just like no one's gonna stop you. You don't have that I don't use it for that reason. Exactly. And that was the first impression I got from going to a chess club meeting for the first time, was that even though it was extremely relaxed and everybody was very, very nice, everything, it's almost kind of like being hyper focused, if you will. Just that you don't even notice anything around you. You're just looking at the board. Exactly. And the things that, yeah. I mean, I want to say it was John Bartholomew. I was watching a few of his YouTube videos, and he was like, if you're going to play online, then at least, play rapid at 10 minutes or above. Otherwise, for the average player, you're not going to learn anything if you're just playing bullet a bunch. And I agree, especially where I'm at in the game. I can't even pick up some of the most obvious tactics in a classical game. Now that has a lot to do with that I'm ADHD. However, that also being said, it has a lot to do with I'm not thinking before I'm moving, which, one second. Which is why I got this. It was free too. I thought it was cool. It's just called Chess Architecture, and it looks at chess from the perspective of treating it like a business. Like there's way too much information on some of these things, but where is it? For example, you've got 7 steps you should follow before you make any move. Yeah. For sure. Which, and to be fair, I mean, everybody learns differently. It's that's just how it is. Just punch anyone who says opposite. I think the reason why Bartholomew, I think that's why he emphasized average. For example, Carlsen. That is a very wise statement. I would definitely agree. But it's just one of those things. I downloaded this because basically it's pretty simple, but it's exactly what I need to do. And it's just 7 steps that you're supposed to, or 7 steps or questions. Well, but at the same time, I mean, like, don't get me wrong. It could just be, like, for example, a lot of these, everybody does, at least, no, I'd say any good chess player does. They know because they've screwed it up so many times, or they've seen the position so many times. That would be my guess. Yeah, exactly. I would agree fully. Um, which is why I think I like specifically. Oh, well,
Yeah, so you ready to do the trash or no?
no.
Okay.
Uh, um, but like for example, it's pretty simple. First step is uh, considered perception, and that's as simple as: have you seen this move before? Did the move capture, attack, or threaten something else? Was the move consistent with what you thought your opponent had planned? Is this what you thought your opponent would do? And that's at a certain point, it's kind of like what you said. They just know somehow. Well, think about how many times you've seen a move. How are you supposed to know? I don't know. I'm not at that level. Yes. Um. Oh yeah. Step 4 is what I think uh, correlates directly. Um. Open your thinking to all the games you have played and study, and it's at this step you're trying to decide. You're comparing and contrasting your position with your opponent's position, and you're using your experience and study of master games and your own games to decide if and why you need to change the goal. And to me, that's not necessarily a rigid structure, because when you really think about it, that's just what good players do, whether they even know it or not. It just becomes subconscious. They just do it. It's just cognitive reactions at that point. And that's ultimately what uh, this whole thing is talking about. It's comparing it to a business, but it's saying in the context of chess, though, it's more so. Exactly. It's basically one of those. Honestly, I think this is fair to say. It's kind of like chess for dummies ways to get better. If you want to improve, you have to continuously at least try to make the best decision. If you don't, you learn from it. As long as you're learning from it and trying to make the best move, you're going to improve. To what degree and at what rate, who the hell knows? But you will improve. So that's actually interesting. My brother-in-law is online, and when it comes to tactics, he destroys me. But at the same time, what is my tactics rating? I had to make this account not too long ago because I went into a stream team, but yeah, it's only 1531 after I've done 487 puzzles. But just the last time on the last account, it was down to 1100 after 1,000 or so. I don't know what it was. It was just once I started seeing crap, I don't know. Watch me screw all of this up. Because, like, I could take the rook and lose the queen. Before, I wouldn't have really saw anything past take the rook. I told you I was going to screw up. No, that loses the queen. That doesn't make sense, especially since the bishop. I told you I'd screw up. Damn. Okay. Seeing it in the past, that would be my answer. The cognition is ridiculous. I mean, you're 2300 or excuse me. Yeah, 2100 over the board and 2200 in blitz. You've seen these things. Maybe not the exact same positions, but you've seen the ideas. And it's not that I'm trying to take anything away from you, by the way. It's just you've paid your dues. How long have you been playing? If you don't mind my asking. So, yeah, that's probably about as long as I've been seriously playing. So, yeah. Yeah. I mean, that or you're a genius. Either way, bravo. That's what I'd say. Yep. That and failure. What would that even accomplish? Nothing. feel like in this situation... Wait. If I move here and he takes... No, that's bad. Okay. Never mind. I don't know what I'm missing. Clearly I'm missing something, but I just don't know what it is. Push, take, no. Take. If I move, he can take. He takes. Okay, so I move there and then he takes. And then I move the bishop here. He can just take. So that's stupid. I'm just gonna make a move. Square is protected. Twice. If I do move though, and he takes, then I can take the rook and not have to worry about the queen. Maybe. Damn. Hey, it was only a yellow. That's just not worth the material. Unless, of course, they're actually justifying that I'd be picking up technically 10 points worth of material. Okay, I was about to say, if they did, I would punch them. No, because I would only be picking up 5. Is that right? No, it'd be 5 plus 5 for a queen. Yeah. Yeah. That just doesn't seem to do anything except lose the knight. Whoops. If he decides to... No. If I push and he takes... There's not really much going on there. Yeah. So you can only go here, here. Oh, that's what you're saying. If I just allow him to take, though, then I'd have to take. I wouldn't have to do anything, but I would. My biggest problem is that then he takes, which blocks his queen. Or he takes. Either way, it blocks his queen, which does nothing to help me, I don't think. Man, I'm missing something simple here. Just doesn't seem like it does anything to move him onto a different file. Whoops. There it was. Made sense once I started thinking, well, technically, even if he takes the queen, yeah. Queen d7. You mean like, what if this continued with queen d7? No, wait, it couldn't continue with queen d7. Queen x d5, or queen d, excuse me. Queen d7 instead of an x d5. Take with the knight, or even rx c1. Queen d8. Even if I could technically still force that picking up the rook. But I'm assuming you're saying there's something even bigger. So basically, what are the threats if he were to play queen d8? Queen d8, queen x c8, queen x c8. That. It's a fork. RxC1. You take the queen with check, and then take the rook. Gotcha. Makes sense. No point in really. What is it? Okay. Take, put him in check. You can take, or take, or take. Take, take. Take. Ooh. If I take with check, then move the bishop, who's protected, and the queen tied down to the king, I pick up a knight and the queen for a bishop. Seems like it. Okay. Hey man, thank you a lot. Like, much appreciated. He takes because he could just take the what? No. No, he could. Or he could even just drop the bishop back. Okay. And okay. Okay. This is actually a good stream. Gonna get some more done, and then I'll be back.